Hello students, hope you are doing good at home. Yes, today is our new topic and the name of topic is Outbreeding Devices. In the earlier videos, we have discussed about the development of male and female gametophyte, and also we have discussed about the pollination, its types and its two agents, biotic as well as abiotic agents. So why am I telling you about these earlier videos and why I am emphasizing on the pollination? Because when we are discussing about the outbreeding devices, it has been related to some part of some correlation is there between the pollination and outbreeding devices. The reason behind this is what? That the outbreeding devices is the type of evolution which has been shown by the flowers. It is the type of evolution which has been shown by the flowers, and it is going to give or it is going to promote more to the cross pollination rather than showing to the self pollination. What is the concept behind an outbreeding devices? यहाँ पे outbreeding devices जब हम लोग पढ़ते तो फ्लावर जो है उन्होंने इवोल्यूशन बताया और जहाँ पे वो क्रॉस पॉलिनेशन को ज्यादा प्रमोट करते हैं और ना कि सेल्फ पॉलिनेशन को. What is the reason behind not promoting to the self pollination? Because you can see the self-pollination is going to give the disadvantage, and the disadvantage is inbreeding depression. The concept is being called as inbreeding. The concept is being called as inbreeding depression. When we are discussing about an inbreeding depression, what does this mean? When a single line homozygosity, or you can call as genetic line of inheritance, is being followed. जब same line of genetic inheritance रहेगा, no different desirable traits are being observed. Because of that, what happens? The genetic vitality, vigority is being reduced, and which results in what? Which results in reducing offspring, and that is being called as inbreeding depression. और इसीलिए हम लोग ऑब्जर्व करते हैं कि जेनेटिक वाइटलिटी, विगोरिटी वो सब रिड्यूस होने लगती है, जिसके वजह से डिप्रेशन देखने मिलता है ऑफस्प्रिंग में, और जिसके वजह से हम लोग ऑब्जर्व करते हैं क्या कहते हैं उसको हम लोग इनब्रीडिंग डिप्रेशन. Inbreeding depression is a condition which has been characterized. It is a condition which has been characterized where the genetic vigority and vitality is being reduced and the fitness is being reduced in offspring, and that is why the self pollination is being discouraged and cross pollination is being promoted. What are also the disadvantage behind the self pollination? It is not going to give the varieties of what? Varieties of the pollen, varieties desirable traits, and also you can see the quality and quantity of seed is also being reduced. And that is the main reason that outbreeding devices is more being promoted. Now, our concept is more towards what? Towards the outbreeding devices and towards the cross-pollination. Here, we can see that the outbreeding devices, here, what are the different outbreeding devices which is being shown by the flower? We are going to discuss one by one. First of all, we are going to start with what? We are going to start with unisexuality. The first concept of our is unisexuality. What do you mean by unisexuality? It means what? That the plant is having the one type of a flower. Either it is going to have the male flower or it is going to have the female flower. It means the plant can be either monoecious, the plant can be either monoecious, or it is going to be the dioecious. When I am talking about the monoecious, the example is going to be maize. Whereas when you can see about the dioecious, the example is going to be papaya. What do you mean by what? Unisexuality or monoecious, dioecious. It means what? A single plant or a single flower is going to have either male flower or a female flower. It means self-pollination is not been possible or it is not been shown by the flowers. Now, the second concept after unisexuality which we are going to discuss is being called as Dicogaming. First of all, we have to understand the meaning of Dicogaming. Dicogaming is what? The maturity which is being shown by the flower or the male flower or the female flower, androecium or gynoecium, is at the different time. Suppose you can see either the androecium is going to mature first and gynocium is not, vice versa is going to be the situation where the gynocium is going to show the maturity and not the androecium. That is the concept, or the maturity shown by the androecium or gynocium is going to be at different time. And that is why we are discussing about the dicogamy, which is going to tell you about the protoandry, and 1 minute students. Protoandry, and the another one is going to be protogamy. Yes students, protoandry. Andry itself is going to make you acquaint that andry stands for androecium, whereas gyne stands for gynocium. Andry. Here you can see the protoandry example is going to be maize, where you can see the male flowers. In maize, the male flowers which are at the apex, they are going to mature first, whereas the female flower or the tassel which is been present below is going to receptive later on. Whereas when we are discussing about the gyne, what do you mean by gyne? It means the gynocium is going to mature earlier or way before than the androecium. Here you can see the concept, or the example is going to be bajra, or it is going to be the millets. Students, here we have discussed the two parts of the outbreeding devices which have been shown by the flower is unisexuality and dicogamy. We'll move towards another one, and it is being called as pollen prepotency. Pollen prepotency. What do you mean by pollen prepotency? It is the concept where you can see that the flower, yes, here you can see that the two different flower, the androecium or the anther of another flower is going to rapidly germinate on another flower. For example, if I am taking the flower where it is having the presence of anther, another flower having the anther and stigma, you can see that the anther of another flower rapidly germinate on the stigma of another flower. Yes students, you must have understood. Anther of the different flower germinate. Anther of the different flower germinate on the stigma rapidly rather than the anther of the same flower. इसका मतलब दूसरे फ्लावर का एंथर इस फ्लावर पे आकर स्टिग्मा पे रैपिडली जर्मिनेट करेगा, ना कि उसी फ्लावर का एंथर. और इस फेनोमेना को यहाँ पे हम लोग बोलते हैं आउटब्रीडिंग को pollen prepotency, and the example is apple. Yes, the pollen is going to germinate of another flower rather than showing the pollen of the same flower. The next concept which we are going to study is going to be heterostyle. What do you mean by heterostyle? Heterostyle, it means what? That the 2 or 3 forms of flower, 2 or 3 forms of flowers are being seen over here, which have the different lengths. As you can see, when it comes to the heterostyle, the example is primula, where you can observe that the example is primula. You can see that the different lengths of this stamen and carpel, they are not going to allow the pollination. It is going to be very different for them to show the pollination process, where either the carpel is going to be have long length, or either have the stamen is going to have the long length. And because of that, at this particular phenomena of heterostyle, here you can see that the anther is going to show the pollinating agent, or it is going to show the pollination on that flower which is having the same length. Students, listen carefully. Where I am mentioning about the heterostyle, the stamen or the anther pollen grain is going to, yes, the pollen grain is going to show the pollination on that stigma where they are having the same length. Heterostyle is for the avoiding the pollination where they are having the different length. Next, when we are discussing about the next type, it is being called as hercogamy. The concept is being called as hercogamy. What do you mean by hercogamy? Now, again it is having the same concept, avoiding of pollination. Everywhere we have seen that they have shown they are trying to avoid the pollination. Again, as we are discussing about the hercogamy, you can see the example is hibiscus. Yes, example is hibiscus. Students, I have taken the example hibiscus because we all know about the hibiscus flower. How does it look? You can see that the stamen is at the apex whereas the anther are below. You can see a type of physical barrier which is being shown by the flower. The anther are below, whereas the stigma is at the apex. What we can observe over here, we can see that it is not possible for the pollen grain to show the pollination at the apex. This is not possible. It means it is a type of physical barrier, or they are trying to avoid the contact of pollination process, or trying to avoid the contact of anther to stigma. Yes, students, the phenomena is being called as hercogamy. And the last one we are going to discuss. Yes, students, the last part I am mentioning at below. And the last type of the outgrading devices, or the part we are going to discuss, is being called as self-incompatibility. Self-incompatibility, or it is being called as self-sterility. What do you mean by self-sterility? It means what? It is a type of sterile. Sterile for what? For the same flower. Now, when we are discussing about the self-incompatibility, self-sterility, it is a type of genetic mechanism. Yes, it is a type of genetic mechanism where the stigma is not going to allow the pollen grain of its same flower. A concept incompatibility मतलब सेल्फ इनकम्पैटिबिलिटी, उसी प्लांट का एंथर इनकम्पैटिबल, उसी फ्लावर का एंथर पोलन इनकम्पैटिबल हो जाता है किसके लिए? पोलन के लिए, या वो स्टेराइल हो जाता है, यानी कि स्टिग्मा दूसरे फ्लावर का पोलन जरूर एक्सेप्ट करेगा, ना कि उसके खुद के फ्लावर का एक्सेप्ट करेगा. और इसीलिए कंसेप्ट जेनेटिक मैकेनिज्म और सेल्फ इनकम्पैटिबिलिटी ये बताता है कि फ्लावर is not going to accept the anther or the pollen of its same flower, whereas it is going to accept the pollen of another flower. Yes, students, in all the ways, when we have discussed all the types of the outbreeding devices, where everywhere you can observe that they are avoiding the self-pollination and they are more promoting to the cross-pollination. Reason here, whatever the disadvantage we have discussed in inbreeding devices, they are going to be the advantage of the cross-pollination. What are they? A good quality and quantity of seed, good pollen are being produced. Here desirable traits are being seen in the flower fruit, and these are the main reason. Because of that, you can see that the more promotion is being given to the cross-pollination. Students, I have tried to to make you acquainted with the whole topic very nicely, and in the next video we are going to discuss about the pollen pistil interaction. Yes, students, do study at home and stay healthy. Thank you.